Hello and welcome to this episode of Hampton Roads Business Live. My name is Rory Graham and I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of having with me Barry Taylor from Barry Taylor and Associates, a local law firm here in Chesapeake, Virginia. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of law firms in the area.
That's correct.
and we've had several on the show to do different things, and you do an awful practice. Your law firm practices in a number of areas.
That's correct.
Could you kind of give us an overview of your law firm?
We're a general practice firm specializing, if you can say specializing, you can't really say that in Virginia, but it's we practice and focus on 4 separate areas of personal injury, family law, criminal, and traffic.
All right, now personal injuries, things like automobile accidents, and is that medical malpractice, that kind of stuff too?
It runs the gamut for me, from anything from products liability, car accidents, boating accidents, motorcycle accidents, traumatic brain injuries, heavy equipment accidents, all the way down to just a simple fender bender, and medical malpractice as well.
Okay. Now, on your family law, is family law divorce and things like that? Or?
It's divorce, child custody,
I see.
visitation, child support. I even represent juveniles when they're in trouble. That's all encompassed under family law.
Okay. And so under, now, criminal law, what?
Well, criminal law, we do both federal and state criminal law, which is a very unique practice almost in this area. Not a lot of people do federal work. We do criminal defense work from everything from a simple traffic matter to serious felonies to misdemeanors. It's all over the place, but you know, from drug cases to rape and manslaughter, malicious wounding, you can go on and on, but reckless driving, DUI. DUI is a very interesting area of the law as well, because it seems to have its own set of rules and regulations that almost exempt it from standard traffic law.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And now you mentioned that you work in both the state and federal courts, and that's unique.
Correct.
Why is that unique?
Well, not a lot of lawyers practice federal law.
Is it harder?
It's more structured, and it's far more advanced as far as how the evidentiary rules work. In Virginia, we've now adopted the basic federal rules of evidence, but it's still a very procedurally driven, formal setting in the federal court than it is a state court. I see.
Okay. And now, the way your firm practices criminal or approaches criminal law is a little different. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good point. We have, my philosophy is that in criminal law, you're not just a file. You're a person behind the file. And so many times I see lawyers come into court with little thin files and not much in them, and they all line up to plead their clients guilty in the mornings, and they're out by 10:30. And I'm not that way. I try over 95% of my cases from start to finish, and we file motions in misdemeanor cases, which a lot of lawyers don't file, to have the Commonwealth to give us the necessary discovery that we have. So we have a lot more workup on the case to see if there is a valid defense to present for the client, and sometimes even though that on paper it looks like there's not a valid defense, during the process of a trial of the case, I've been able to find defenses that, as the officer testifies, and win the case. So I rarely plead people guilty. So I even have a motto: don't just plead guilty, call us.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. It sounds like that would be what you would want.
Well, people, you can go plead yourself guilty.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Couldn't you just plead yourself guilty?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right. Well, it's probably more to it than that, but anyway. All right, so what are some of the especially interesting cases that you've worked on? I know we talked a little bit before this.
Well, I've had a wide variety of cases in my practice. I've had several cases stand out in my mind. Back during the 90s, I had a slip and fall case. It was a particularly rigorous case that I tried. That particular case actually changed the law in Virginia pertaining to slip and fall cases, and that case remains the landmark case until today. And that case is called Austin versus Shoney's. It went to the Supreme Court and back, and that was a very good opinion to clarifying notice requirements for a defendant that would create a hazard that caused someone to slip and fall in their establishment. Mm-hmm. Another case I had was a young man on the Eastern Shore, you might remember, that had cancer and had been through first-line treatment and did not want to take secondary traditional treatment because it had not worked for him the first time, and he had a Hodgkin's disease. And that case literally went around the world. And I was on every news media outlet in the United States and I think 27 countries abroad. And that was a landmark case in Virginia that actually changed the law in Virginia, that a statute was passed protecting children's rights. It was called Abraham's Law, and that was signed into law in 2007. Mm-hmm. And by the governor at that time, and so we felt very fortunate to be able to participate in some of those cases. I've had cases where that people were injured extremely severely and have been able to get very significant settlements and verdicts for them.
You've had some very large awards too.
I have. I think right now we hold the record in Chesapeake Circuit Court for medical malpractice award, which was $2.5 million. Wow.
Okay. All right. And now, if someone was going to, let's say, they're looking at different firms, why is going with a smaller firm a better idea than maybe a larger firm, in your mind? I mean, why do you think that's a good idea?
Well, there's several reasons. Number one is you're not paying for the overhead of a huge law firm that has an entire floor rented in a huge building. And the second thing I feel like is a very personalized service. We give really good service to our clients. They feel like they're a part of the group. We've had the same client base since the 90s, and it's been a very rewarding thing for me as a lawyer to see clients, because normally I don't advertise a lot, but clients refer other clients in, and about 90% of my new clients come by word of mouth.
I know we talked about criminal law and how you practice that, but in personal injury, why is a courtroom going to court maybe better than settling in that area?
Well, what I tell clients is high volume law firms that do high volume cases, they're trying to get the next dollar in the door a lot of times. So what we are trying to do is to represent the client, get the maximum benefit for the client that the client is entitled to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that becomes sort of antithetical with the normative of the system of personal injury law, because it takes longer, but in the most cases, but the rewards are generally higher. And so therefore, I've gained the reputation of not being afraid to go to court. The insurance companies know that I will go to court and do routinely. So therefore, even my settlements are, I'd say, better than most firms around that I have knowledge of. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are other firms that are very good firms and do a good job on personal injury law. But we try to give that really high quality service and really focus on the client, focus on the client's injuries, listen to what they have to say as far as how this has impacted their life, and then transmit that in a very cogent way to the insurance company, give them their opportunity to settle. And if they won't settle for a fair dollar, then we file suit. Some insurance companies we just file suit on immediately when they come through the door, because I've had enough experience with that particular insurance company to know that the settlements are going to be low, so we just file suit.
Okay. All right. And now you work, I know you're in Chesapeake, but you work all over area.
All over Hampton Roads, and even on the peninsula. I go up to Richmond. I go everywhere.
And it's important that you have experience in all the courts.
It is.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, because
I know why, because you told me beforehand, but why is that?
Well, it's a very unusual thing that if you go to some lawyers only practice in one city. Therefore, if they have a need and they go to another city, they're sort of like a fish out of water. I've been, since the beginning of my career, going to all the court systems around here, even the outer lying counties, the Eastern Shore, the Peninsula, Richmond, even up next to Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. And so I know a lot about a lot of court systems. I know how the court systems work. I know how different and varying procedures they have, local rules they may have, what a particular judge wants to hear, what they don't want to hear. And so all of that culminates in what I call the voice of experience.
Yeah. This really isn't in my questions, but is judges are different from one judge to another?
Vastly.
Vastly, okay, because you see on TV like The Good Wife or whatever, you see one judge is one way, one judge is totally another way, and they actually talk about it before the case. Well, this judge is pretty lenient on this or whatever. So that's really the case, is that judges, it's not like here's the law and that's it.
Yeah, judges are radically different.
Radically different. Okay.
In some cities, the whole panel of judges are radically different than other cities. And I'll give you an example. You can have the same case. For example, let's talk about a criminal matter.
Okay.
You have to over-prepare for some cities like Virginia Beach than you would some other cities that surround us here. And Virginia Beach has just got that ultra-conservative reputation in the area of criminal and traffic law that you won't find in some of the other cities. And so therefore, going in there that you have to prepare a certain way, and you have to prepare your client a certain way to be in that court system versus in some of the surrounding court systems. Okay. And the clients all know that. That's a common knowledge among a lot of clientele around that have been involved in more than one traffic matter in various cities. They know. Okay,
and I guess that leads right into what I was just going to ask you about, is your tagline, voice of experience. So this is where experience really counts, is that you are familiar with this.
Well, it is, and I've been in the courtroom since 1993. Even before I graduated law school, I was in on a 30-year practice certificate, tried cases. I worked for the Norfolk Commonwealth Attorney's Office briefly. I worked for a First Amendment law firm where I traveled quite extensively during various times during that tenure there. But I've been in private practice since 1994, and so I've been 20 years now in practice, and I've run the gamut of cases and judges and court systems and federal and state, and I've had cases go up to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, one case to the Supreme Court of the United States. So I've worked on Supreme Court briefs for the United States that have won in the First Amendment law firm I used to work for. So when I say voice of experience, it really is a vast 20-year experience.
Okay. All right, and I guess that is one of the main reasons that would set you apart from a lot of the law firms in the area, is the experience and...
Well, I try to be...
and your philosophy of trying cases.
That's correct. That's correct. And I also I really try to relate to the client on a level that the client knows that I care about what their circumstances are. And especially, I find a lot of firms, when they have a criminal defense case, they may think that their client is guilty, and therefore it seems to color the way that they sometimes will present a defense. I hope it doesn't, but it seems that way when I watch them in court. But I try to be as first of all, practical and upfront with the client, and tell them this is how much trouble you're in, and give them the range of what can happen to them. And then give them, based on the facts and circumstances of their case, my experience, the law, where I think they're going to wind up if they were to be convicted. That gives them some sort of a comfort, because they know the parameters in which their case, where they sit.
Or how serious it is.
Or how serious or how non-serious. It can be, some cases are, take for example reckless driving. I would say that the average Virginian does not realize that reckless driving is a jailable offense till they get charged with it and they find their way to our door. But reckless driving is a jailable offense, and you know, some other misdemeanor driving charges are jailable offenses, like driving on suspended license. That's a jailable offense. Those are Class 1 misdemeanors, and DUI is another jailable offense. But most people know that, but people don't really realize how much trouble that they can actually be in when they get a charge. So we have to explain that.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you'd like to bring up? Or?
Well, I think that the personal attention that we give our clients sort of sets us apart. I think that the vast amount of experience that our firm has with federal and state courts, even the appellate court system. I've had multiple cases in the Supreme Court of Virginia and the Court of Appeals of Virginia, as well as in the federal court system in Norfolk and Newport News and Western District of Virginia. I'm licensed and qualified in both districts in Virginia, the Eastern and Western District. I've had cases even in the federal court system in North Carolina. So I've been all over for
Get
cases.
around.
And, but I would say that, you know, just the personal touch that we give our clients, that we listen to what they have to say, and that we represent them to the fullest extent of the law, I think that's what really sets us apart.
I don't think anybody could ask for any more than that.
Hope so.
All right. Well, if you find yourself in need of an attorney or some legal advice, then you might want to check with Barry Taylor and Associates. Their contact information is at the end of this video, and it's also on the bottom of this page. And I'm sure you can visit their website and or give them a call, and they'd be glad to talk with you. I thank you so much for coming in today, and I wish you a great deal of success.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you.